Weird science is the revolution.
Geiger number 3. So we have the Ghost Machine stuff, and I like this a little bit more.
Oh, I like this a lot more.
And I might not have even said I'm giving 7 as well to the Transformers. Right. But Geiger
just rolled off.
Just Geiger number 3 is by Jeff Johns, art by Gary Frank, Brad Anderson on colors, Rob Lake on letters, and you go and you start with a Junkyard Joe here, and it's kind of just a recap of some of the things from before.
If you're not familiar, here you go.
It's fine. And it's because he's now in the present. So he has survived. He's in the universe at one point. The last thing being told is to go find Tariq, go find the glowing man, and you see him trying to do that, and you see him even visiting his old guy's house. And in that, you had that play of, I didn't make you, Joe. I just had you because he had some stuff there. But it's kind of cool to have him there. I thought it was going to be a little bigger. I was thinking it was going to be another like backup type thing with it, but it's kind of a front up, but he's there. And I do like that. And he was told to go find Tariq. So that might be a cool play. But when you go off to Tariq and Nate, the Nuclear Knight, they are in a library and they're looking for a certain book. And it is because that book got ruined because of Nate. And you end up having Tariq wants that book. It reminds him of his family. And that's a big thing. And it's a nice story in this because you end up, not that Nate is mean or anything. He's actually pretty nice. And he's desperately trying to be good, but he is kind of slow a bit. He doesn't quite. And Tariq ends up saying at one point, he ended up being in Vegas in those casinos. You don't understand what you should and shouldn't do because while they're in there, it's just that crazy thing where he says some things and it echoes. So he wants to echo more. So he screams and it could attract a lot of people. It's a good way to set up the idea of the organ, people and stuff like that so that you can have Tariq because they're going to be showing up. It's very obvious that at some point quickly they are going to be dealing with them, but Tariq and Barney are they're going through the stacks and they do end up finding the book. And that's where you do have Nate, why do you like these books? I didn't like books. My mom was a teacher and she used to do this thing that if I read 3 books, but I didn't care. Nobody likes books. And it is funny. And he's right. This is after all this nonsense and it's a post-apocalyptic world where everything's been scavenged. Everything's been gone. The books are there perfectly still on. Nobody cares because why would you get most of the time?
How's a book going to save my life?
It's not going to save your life, but it's also, you're not going to have much downtime for the most part in a world like this. There's not I'm going to take 3 hours to read a book when you're going to need that to scavenge for food or protect people or whatever. So the books are just kind of there, but he does find his dangerous friend book. But again, you have Nate scream out because nobody wants books. And I thought at first, did you think Tariq was nobody talks bad about books? I thought he was so he says, you're an idiot. Don't yell like that. You don't understand. And you do see that Nate's scared. And he's sad. And also you see Tariq's eyes are glowing. This is like a Superman type moment of when, he's mad. You better watch yourself. But he does calm down a bit, but says you spent too much coddled inside those casinos night. And, there's nowhere is safe like that out here. You can't do that. You can't do that crap. But again, it comes down to why are you getting this book? And he's still he's a nice guy. He just doesn't know what to do or whatnot. But I did like him. And it is funny when you end up having Tariq say, well, we're going to head to Montana. We got to plot our course. We're going to go. We'll sleep here at the library. And he yells, our mission is afoot. He's all excited to find Ash Arden, the glowing man who was cured. And Geiger just kind of walks away and hey, a whole lot better because he says, maybe, I hope that you find a way to see those rods aren't stuck in your back. You'll feel better, a whole lot better. He does feel for Tariq. I like him. And they are going to sleep in this library, but you go from there because, again, there's kind of a good play with Barney, who has a problem with libraries and kind of reminds him. Everybody's being reminded of their mother in this, but also Tariq with his kids. But still, you go from there.
Yeah, so we just see that Tariq, he is sitting there reading the book, And we see Barney come up, and he's whining, and Tariq is just like, "Oh, go to sleep, Barney. You're not a pup anymore. Just go to sleep, okay? I don't care if you're having bad dreams, or whatever." And we see through a flashback that Barney, his mom, and them used to sleep in a library before she got killed, and it reminds him of her. And it's just, Tariq finally lets his guard down, and he's like, "All right, you stupid mutt, come here."
I like what he does.
He's like, "Good boy."
And the good thing, though, and what's really good, is he puts his arm on Barney. It's almost exactly how Barney's mom had them when they were feeding and stuff like that. So it ends up being very nice for Barney as well. I mean, it was so mean when Barney's crying.
Yeah, he's just whining, and I'm like, how freaking dare you?
And in this, I mean, he's a two-headed dog. Everybody,
I don't care.
As a puppy, cutest thing ever. Look at him there.
Cute. I don't care.
What you're doing here is you're setting up pretty much really pump it in that you love Barney. Like, you have to, at this point, Jeff Johns is making sure that you love Barney, because things are going to go bad. And I really thought they were going to go real bad. And I got very upset.
I got really mad.
And then to let out and then it goes bad again. But they have to get to, where they're going. They have to go, and they're plotting their course. They're going to Montana. And when they go out, they kind of come right smack into an airport. And again, Nate, he does not understand the idea of, this is a lot of open ground. We're going to be very vulnerable. And the Oregon people are probably just waiting for us. There's too many. There's going to be tons of things. And even when he looks and says, "Let me look," but this really looks like breeding ground for the Oregon people. And when he looks, there are trucks, and they're just out there. Now, if the engines were out, then you could say, "Oh, I get it. Somebody scavenged them." But when Tariq sees, he says, "Oh, their hoods are popped, so you could see there's engines, and it's a trap." He said, "The few vehicles are there. It's a trap. It's bait. We're going to go around." The airport's a big thing. And Nate's like, "Well, what? Like, no, let's just run across." And he's like, "We're not doing that. You don't know. Do you know what the Oregon people are?"
You're about to find out.
Yeah, it's funny. And then Nate says, like, "Of course I do. They're mutated, whatever." But that's not just the thing. That's what Nate heard when he was in the casino. "Oh, they're mutated. People doing it." And Tariq wants to really, explain. They will take your organs for what they need for their irradiated parts, and they will eat the rest. These aren't anything that's nice. We're not going to. But at one point, what I do love about Nate is he really does go with the idea that the glowing man, Tariq, as the glowing, he could do anything. He looks at Tariq as Superman. He does. He looks at him as the god of all. Oh man, even when Tariq's pretty much says there could be hundreds of them, thousands. They could be, and he's like, "That's no match for you." He's like, "Who cares?" And he asks,
I love Tariq's response. He's like, "I don't feel like killing hundreds today."
Yeah. He's like, "I'm not doing that." So he's all excited, but then he's yelling again, and he gets shot by an arrow, which is crazy. And then we got hills. The hills have eyes. I mean, you specifically have that one guy, that crazy guy, with the Kiss the Cook shirt, which is kind of funny. You got pretty much a twin two-headed monster. It's just monstrosity. And the lady who looks like, I don't know why it looks like she's in a nurse's type of smock type deal, probably is the one who does the surgeries. That would make sense. And right away, Tariq just go ham on them, and it's pretty vicious,
I love he throws one of the rods through the Kiss the Cook's eye, and it's his only eye. It's just like, well,
yeah, he's done. And again, right there is the action that and he's the one who shot the deal. He has a crossbow. That's what I need once from Nightwing. I need him to just go and throw his stick right through. Say it'll never happen anymore, but pretty cool. And yeah, Tariq is not wasting any sort of effort or time. He puts it through. That guy can't see now. He's done. The woman is going nuts. I mean, she goes after Nate and is just going slicey,
"I need your
slicey."
parts.
Yeah, just yelling. Barney then saves Nate, but then this is where it looks like there's trouble, because this two-headed monstrosity grabs Barney and then sees that it's two heads. You think that it might be like, "Oh, I like this." It's like, no. Yeah, it goes, no more like me. Because he's like me? No more like me. And it's about to rip Barney in two. And you do end up having... Yeah, and what's great is that Nate actually throws books at him and stuff, and actually does get him to drop Barney. and then you see the stick. And again, you don't mess with Barney. The glowing man is in effect now. He's in the house, and he rips this guy apart. He's full out glowing man, and then kind of walks out of that. But you end up where the whole play, and like he's like, Mr. Geiger, we should go before more of them come. That's where he sees the book got ruined again. That book that he wanted. He's like, damn it. And that's where he kind of explains about the book and how it was a connection to his family. This is something that it seems like Nate does not understand quite as much, though he will. But that's the other thing. Like, Nate's like, really? We went all out of that way to get this one book, and this is book. Like, he kind of gets a little bit upset, it seems. But the play is that Geiger, he says, you screwed me. Like, that was the one thing I wanted. You screwed me. You ruined. That's why we had to go. And now this one's ruined because it caught on fire. And so that night, you do see, I think this is played out great. And there's little, not mini cliffhangers, but many parts in this where the emotions of it make you think something's going to, but then something else happens because Nate slips out. He leaves. He gets up in the middle of the night and leaves. Unfortunately, in this, Barney realizes it and goes to see him and maybe follows him because you do see at the last point, he's following him out. This could be the reason why there's a lot of trouble by the end. But me and you both thought Nate just left, right?
Yeah. I just thought he was leaving. He's like, oh,
I thought he was
too
sad.
Much trouble. I keep ruining his day. I'm going to just leave.
The cliched trope would be that idea. And even then, when it's funny, when Tariq wakes up the next day and there's books, I actually thought this was just like, Dear Geiger, I'm leaving. Like, I thought he had something there. But
one word per page on the books.
But he ends up where he actually went and looked around and found another library during the night. And he ended up finding the book. And even then didn't know what the name of the book was. So he knew the cover and just searched through every book in the library till he found that cover. It's pretty crazy. But again, He was sad. He didn't want to screw over. He really likes Geiger. So he says, I went there and got that. The problem, though, is that Barney was kind of wandering after him. But the moment that you get with Nate, that's cool. He's like, I also found this, the Velveteen Rabbit. And that's what his mom used to read to him as a little boy. And he starts crying and he says, I get it now. I miss my mom. These books take you to a different place. And I actually miss my mom. I miss my family. And that's where they're sitting there. And it is kind of crazy. Like, both of them seem to realize at the same time, like, where's Barney? Because he's gone. He's not there. And then we go and see that somewhere around they're still where the airport is. So they're not, but it's not right where they are, where the guy who's chasing them down has Barney and says, he'll come for you, but I won't make it easy. And Barney tries to bite him, and he says bad dog and just shocks him. And it's bad. I mean, I love Barney, and I'd love him even more
Barney.
after this issue was so
on
great.
My list.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're going to make the funniest thing is, you want to make a guy look bad, or not even a guy, but a villain or whatever, have him kick a dog, something like that. He just did it.
He's one of the bad boys, the boys who are bad.
Exactly. So he is now on the list. He's a piece of crap. So, and it says
where's Nightwing when you need him?
Yeah, really. He's not going to throw that stick through a guy's eye. I know that, but it says next
month,
dog rescue. So we'll see how that goes. And if they do catch up with each other, I hope he does save Barney. Geiger will not be very happy. And you see how bad and mean he gets if somebody does something to Barney. So hopefully that is what happens. But with all that, what would you give this?
I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10. I had a lot of fun with this. I mean, it's really good. And, the artwork is spectacular. Every time I look at the artwork, I'm always taken away. And just, I mean, the only reason why I'm a little bit down on it, because, yes, I get Nate's simple. At times, he's a little too simple, a little too oafish. His heart's in the right place. He's just not that bright.
Yeah, and they're playing like a Don Quixote stuff with the knight, too. And he's kind of a doofus. So you end up having that. But again, I said, even in the preview show that I do, that every time I read one of these books, it becomes my favorite. I have to admit that this didn't leap ahead of Rook Exodus or Red.
No,
They're
but
very close,
but
I
quality.
still like it. I really like it.
Yeah.
And it's more of a slower pace type thing. Yeah. And also, the excitement of Rook Exodus and Red Coat are, they're brand new. Like, we're just learning. I have read some of the
we have experience
Geiger stuff,
Geiger.
So we kind of know the deal. So, but it's really good. And really, if you want to mess with people, you grab Barney, because that's bull crap. But I'm actually going to go 8.8. I'll go a little higher
All right.
I really did like it.
Hey, all you weirdos, if you like comic book shows, podcasts, videos, please check the description of this video where you can see links to all of our podcast shows, websites, all of that. And if you want to help us out for everything that we do, you can click on that Patreon link in the upper left-hand corner and check out our Patreon, where you can go right now and get a 7-day free trial to see all the stuff that we do, shows that are Marvel, DC, indie, manga, and even more. So check all that out, and I'll talk to you all later.
Weird science is the revolution.